Mustache. Ski, and welcome into the rest of you. Hello and go Diamondbacks. What a big victory. Diamondbacks win their fourth game in a row. And I still don't understand how my mustache helped the baseball team win games instead of helping me like win the lottery or something. That seems like bullshit. But what doesn't seem like bullshit is the way this team is playing right now. Again, welcome in to the PHNX D-Back Show. My name is the mayor of PHNX, occasionally known as Derek Montia. Of course, I'm joined by the one and only Damon Dog on the ones and twos, and Jesse Friedman, of course, my vice mayor, your thunderstick, will be joining us from Chase Field here shortly. But the boys are buzzing. The boys are buzzing. The Diamondbacks win their fourth game in a row, beating the Giants by a score of 8-5. And I don't know what this offense is. I sincerely don't know how this team can be so streaky, but my God, the offense has absolutely woken up. And again, it was a team effort tonight. Cattell, of course, 3 for 4 with a walk. But they got production from a lot of guys on this team tonight. 2 for 4 from Gabby Moreno. Of course, Lourdes Gurriel had that huge hit. He was 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs himself. Moreno had 2 RBI. Just production all across the board here. Wasn't Cattell just doing it himself tonight? Corbin had the night off. And of course, the team really does produce well without Corbin being in there. And I mean, you could say the same for Gino, because Gino, of course, he went 0 for 3 tonight and he continues to struggle at the dish. But the rest of the team, man, has been doing an incredible job. The 7, 8, and 9 hitters tonight were 5 for 11 with 3 RBI and 4 runs scored. That's Jake McCarthy, Blaze Alexander, and Kevin Newman, who has an absolute fire walk-up song, by the way. We still need to talk to Jake about his walk-up song, but one person who needs no talking to right now, that would be Blaze Alexander. This kid has been incredible for this team. He continues to be incredible. He continues to get better and better. And man, it's just been a lot of fun to watch him play baseball. It's been a lot of fun to watch this team play baseball, Damon. In fact, I made that comment at the exact same time that Bert made it on the broadcast tonight. We were in complete agreement about that. Am I right?
Yeah, I believe specifically you said it's like way more fun when this team's good or something like that.
Yeah.
And Steve was like, it's way more fun when we're winning.
Yeah.
Like directly after that.
Yeah, it
was pretty uncanny.
It was something. But obviously the big story tonight is the offense. Also, Blake Walston getting his second start of the year. Blake, or 2 starts, 3 appearances this year. Blake Walston has a 2.84 ERA. So he has somehow figured out a way to be effective. But it was one of those nights for Blake. I mean, he was all over the place when it came to his. I guess you could say this was more of control rather than command, because man, the balls weren't anywhere close to the strike zone. However, he did a great job at limiting the damage. He gave the Diamondbacks 4 2/3 innings pitched. He allowed 2 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, and 2 strikeouts through 88 pitches. Definitely had to work a lot out there, but he was able to get himself out of jams. And there's just a lot to like about Walston, especially considering he's coming into, this situation right now for a team that truly needs him, and has delivered so far this season. His other numbers, not so great. He did have he does have a 4.24 FIP and a 5.90 xFIP. And Damon today was laughing quite a bit about the fact that this man was able to do what he did, even though it seemed very lucky at times.
I'm laughing at the chat right now, like Connor saying Blake pitched one of the games of all time, and Zach Zent saying Blake threw the ball. Blake had an outing. I think that's fair.
He pitched. He did.
He sure as shit did. You can't take that away from him.
You cannot take that away from him. He threw 88 pitches to a Major League Baseball team, and he only gave up 2 earned runs. So say what you will. It was definitely.
Hallelujah.
It was something out there, right? But I mean, again, there are encouraging things. I'm not Jesse, so I'm going to silver line everything. You know that. That's how this works around here. But a silver lining here with Blake was that he had 3 ball counts on 10 of 19 batters faced, including 8 of the first 10, and he was still able to limit the damage and keep him only give up 2 earned runs to this particular Giants team that isn't a very compelling lineup. We've talked about this Giants team not really scaring you when you look at the way that their lineup is currently constructed. They've had their share of injuries that they've lost some of their key pieces this year. But I mean, the Diamondbacks right now, today was all about, the offense for this team. The Diamondbacks at one point scored 9 runs in 6 games. 9 runs in 6 games. And of course, as you can see, they scored 8 tonight alone. So since then, the Diamondbacks have now scored 36 runs in their past 5 games. And like I said earlier, the boys are buzzing. I don't really understand how a team collectively falls asleep at the dish and then also all wakes up together. But this is something. It's fun. It's fun baseball to watch again.
I'm so hyped. I mean, we're back, Derek. Let's just say we already got to this. We're this far into the show.
Yeah, why haven't we said it yet?
6 minutes and 40 seconds in,
we
haven't
back.
said it yet.
We're
back.
a fucking wagon. We're a motherfucking wagon, is what I'm saying.
I'm pumped. We're back. The boys are back. I said it a couple shows ago, right? We were talking about the offense on Mailbag Monday. I guess it was yesterday. And I said, the offense is going to need to step up with this pitching staff that we're about to watch. Blake Walston got a little lucky tonight. But the offense did step up by all accounts. Offense stepped up yesterday, and we just got to keep it rolling.
We were asked on Monday, how many days in a row do you want to see, will it take the offense producing for you to believe in this team again? And I think after tonight, you're starting to believe again. You're starting to believe they're not only being able to produce offensively, but the defense has been very, very good.
That's a great point.
Over the last week. So it's not just the offense. I think when you look at some of the games, and I've used the term letting the air out of the balloon quite a bit on this show, probably far too many times. But when you look back at like those defensive mistakes and how some of those defensive mistakes during that stretch where the Diamondbacks just couldn't get much done on either side of the ball, like really ended drives or, caused especially the opposition to score more runs and, go out there and What are we giggling at? I'm sorry. You're giggling, and I'm not. I'm easily distracted tonight.
Another Zach Zent, Blake Walston comment said Blake was painting like an artist. It was an abstract artist on cocaine, but he painted.
All right, that's a good one. That's worth it. But yeah, no, I mean this team right now is just getting it done. I mean they're finding a way to win, and even in a game that looked like a blowout. Of course, the bullpen wasn't perfect. But, man, parts of this bullpen have been very, very good. And, of course, the main part about that was the man of the night, Justin Martinez. This guy is just incredible. And obviously, Justin Martinez did not have a perfect outing out there tonight. I will be the first to say that. However, his strikeouts, his stuff is just so phenomenal. And right now, he is really, I feel like, ahead of schedule. We didn't get a chance to talk to Torey, but I feel like where he's at right now and the progress that he made from last season to this season to where he's at today is just incredible. I mean, you could probably say that Justin Martinez is the Diamondbacks' best relief pitcher right now. Paul Sewald is a magician. He gets people to swing at pitches that they have no business even swinging at. But I mean, when you talk about stuff, when you talk about going out there and just wowing you with absolute disgusting filth, it's JMart. And I mean, then
he talked about it right after the game ended on the team's post-game show where Brandon Webb was talking about JMart, and he had an audible moan when they brought up JMart's name, he was like, "Oh, I love this guy." Like that, it moved him.
Yeah,
like emotionally. And and that's how I feel every single time that JMart comes out of the pen. Is a tear comes down my eye because I realize that this guy is 22 years old, Derek. What are we talking about right now?
We're talking about one of the best relievers in the league being part of the Diamondbacks for a very long time.
A very, very long time.
He lowers his ERA down to 0.42. He allowed 1 hit tonight in his 1 inning of work, walked 1, struck out 2, and did it magnificently. I mean, the man drops in a 99-mile-per-hour sinker. He then goes at him with a triple-digit fastball, and then like a cutter 90 down in the zone. Like there was so much disgusting filth here.
The splitter is just disgusting.
The splitter is just something else, man. And I mean, of course, there's a lot to like about what Justin Martinez brings to this team. I think the biggest thing, though, is especially when Torey can plug him in like he did tonight, after you've spent 5 innings looking at Blake Walston, pitching all over the place. You get Justin Martinez actually coming in here and throwing 101 miles per hour exactly where he wants to throw it. He wasn't, like I said, he wasn't perfect, but the man generated 11 whiffs, 11 swings in his outing and 3 whiffs, excuse me. But it was just all beautiful. And I mean, again, there's just something very wholesome about the fact that over the last week, we've had a chance to see his parents, see him pitch in the major leagues for the first time in New York. And now they were here today. We had a chance to talk to them and see his father throw out the first pitch prior to today's game. It has to be just a very special feeling, for his family, for himself, to not only, be sharing in this moment, but also for him to be pitching as well as he is right now. So that's an incredible thing. His father had some amazing things to say before the game when we were talking about, like, when did you know, that he was such a special talent? And I mean, he basically brought up that, where they're from, this is like very common for you to kind of like raise, your young baseball player with the expectation that this could be, the end goal, that this could be even when you don't even live in the United States, right? But he wasn't even a pitcher, so that was another interesting factor. Yeah, he was. I think they said he was an outfielder. So I mean, and like he said, like a lot of young pitchers don't start out as pitchers, right? We've seen that quite a bit, but I mean, it's just got to be an incredible feeling.
It's hard for me to believe that they just like, this kid is probably 3 years old throwing 70 miles per hour.
Right. Yeah. That's what it feels like. Like he was 5'6" in the 3rd grade,
for sure.
And like he was
throwing
6.5. Yeah. Like 6.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
Just dominating. But apparently that didn't happen for a little bit for him. So we're glad it happened. And we're glad he's part of the Arizona Diamondbacks organization. Another guy that we're very glad is here and is doing as well as he is our king snake tonight, and that's our boy Blaze Alexander. 3 for 4 RBI, 2 runs scored. He had a double tonight, and I mean, Blaze has been really, really good so far this month. I mean, he has done a great job at basically earning time and being one of those guys that nobody really wants to see right now out of the starting lineup. And it's funny because the other day we had this exact conversation about who the Diamondbacks would potentially send down when Geraldo Perdomo comes back. Blaze is making that a very, very difficult decision. The man is 8 for 15 so far in the month of June. So, hey,
we talked about it a little bit after what happened yesterday with Pavin Smith hitting the walk-off home run. And on our emergency podcast, obviously there was a lot of like telling Jesse to apologize because we had the conversation earlier on the show, like who possibly would go down in a scenario when we get Perdomo and Alec back. And we kind of highlighted Pavin and Blaze potentially.
Yeah.
I know that yesterday, like after the home run, everybody was like, you can't send Pavin down. I think Blaze is a much, much more difficult decision. I'm sure there's a lot of people that agree with that, but like Blaze is consistently performing at that level. Pavin's still an easy send down for me when Alec's back, but I don't know what I do at that shortstop position. What do you even do at that point? Kevin Newman's still playing pretty good. Blaze is playing good. Like, what's the move?
The one thing here is that no matter what move you make, it's not a definitive move. We're not talking about a team that's going to DFA Blaze Alexander or Kevin Newman, right? So I think the point here is that Geraldo Perdomo should absolutely get that opportunity, and Torey has not shied away one bit from saying Perdomo is our starting shortstop. When he comes back, he will resume that role. There's not a battle for that position. There's not going to be splitting time. Torey made it very clear that Geraldo Perdomo will be back at shortstop. But for how long if he doesn't perform well is the question. And of course, if you have Blaze and you have Kevin Newman both continuing to play, whether it's here as a backup or in, Reno, how long do you give Perdomo that opportunity, right? So I think it's a fluid situation where it's depending right now on who's playing better, but it doesn't mean that they're still not going to give guys an opportunity even if they struggle, right? Torey historically has allowed guys to kind of hit their way out of struggles. And after a conversation I had with him today on the field, I very much understand his thinking on that much more. And Torey really does believe in these guys, and he really does think that when they're struggling the way some of their really good hitters like Corbin are at the dish are, the way they're struggling, he really does think that tomorrow is the day that they're going to break out of this, and like that they really just need to go up there and have a different mindset at the plate. Kind of, we talked about the winning mindset. One of the winning mindsets that clubhouses have is the difference between going into the clubhouse every single day and saying, we're going to win today, versus coming into the clubhouse and saying, boy, I hope we win today, right? It's like the I hope versus I wish, like kind of thing, right? But my point being here is that Torey does want to see, even with some of the lack of patience that we've seen from these players at the dish, Torey wants to see a more aggressive approach from everybody right now. And I think we are getting that from a couple of guys that are responding well. I think what we've seen out of Blaze is a more aggressive approach. What we've seen out of Cattell, even though Cattell has been hitting a lot of singles during, not only his hitting streak, but the last couple of, weeks, it's still some aggressive approaches at the dish. And I think that's what we need more from. We just need this team to believe in themselves, and winning four in a row like this is huge to make you believe in yourself. Beating a division opponent like the Giants, who are above you, not only in the National League West standings, but also in the wild card standings, huge. Again, these are things that this team is slowly becoming itself again. Elise says Blaze has options, so that might be the deciding factor. I know there was something about Kevin Newman needing to accept being sent down.
Yeah, because I think wasn't that the problem after spring training as well. But yeah, I guess that's the nature of his minor league deal. Like, he would have to accept going down and come back up. It's not really an options thing.
Right.
It's just more.
And that's how it is a lot of times, right? A lot of times they have to option guys that don't really make as much sense. Like, you see them leave somebody on the roster and move somebody else, and that person might have been playing well. A lot of times it's just down to moves, right? We know that, like, when they send a guy down, for instance, they have to stay down for 15 days. There's just some limited options there based on, what options guys have. I guess limited moves they could make based on options.
Yeah, I like this comment here from Jay Lust, where he says, still can't slam dunk Blaze's defense, but if Jerry is the everyday guy, I trust Blaze's bat off the bench more than Newman. I think that like, Blaze absolutely has the characteristics of like a really good utility bench player, like a guy that you want up late in the game because he's pretty good with runners in scoring position. Yeah. And he's just pretty good in general hitting. Like, he has a good average. He's a guy you trust with the bat in his hands. Kevin Newman is also clutch, though. That's a factor as well.
Kevin Newman, we talked about his
6 walk-ups.
His walk-up song, right? Yeah, his walk-up song is fire. So Damon,
actually can't lose him after I heard that walk-up song tonight.
That's a very important factor. The vibes have been very, very good. Of course, the vibes are always good here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. We thank you guys, of course, for being here in the YouTube channel right now. I saw my guy Eric was here. Would you mind scrolling up? I'm sorry if you have to do this, but there's Eric with the orange E. Yeah. I got to meet Eric today. We were both buying jerseys from the 50% off rack up at the, I don't know if, am I blowing up his spot by saying that? I feel like I'm publicly calling him cheap on the show, but I'm also accusing myself of being cheap. So we're in this boat together. But Eric says it was super awesome meeting you today during the pregame outside the team shop. Absolutely, sir. Eric and I were both deciding on whether to buy a Gonzo jersey or that retro throwback job that I put on Twitter today. The what was it? Turn the clock back or turn the clock
back
ahead?
The clock.
No, it was a turn the clock ahead. It was supposed to be from the future. That's supposed to be a future Diamondback. Yeah, that's why it's even dumber. Watch, you'll see. It says turn the clock ahead jersey is what it's called. It's insane. I don't even know what madman came up with that promotion. But I was this close to buying that Randy Johnson jersey. And you guys on Twitter were absolutely no help. Every single one of you encouraged me to spend
Turn ahead the clock.
Turn ahead the clock. That is what it is.
Bad.
It's so bad. It's such a bad name. That was a promotion that they did. But anyway, of course, we thank you guys for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so right now. We thank you guys so much for being here and for subscribing if you haven't done so. That way you don't miss whenever our shows go live. You can hit that sign up for notifications. That way you'll get notified when our shows go live. And of course, drop us a like. There's many players that love it when you drop us a like, but who's going to stop by tonight, Damon? Who we got? Yeah, Gabby. Sounds
He had a good night tonight.
He had a great night tonight. And of course, it's weird because I feel like we really applaud some of these guys that are struggling. Even like Corbin, where we say like he's put together some better at bats, even though the results aren't there. Gabby really has put together some much better at bats than what we saw from him earlier in the season.
Even one of his outs tonight was like a really hard hit ball, the opposite field, where the right fielder was having to go back and make a pretty decent catch on the play. Like, I feel like Gabby's finding it a little bit.
Good job, Gabby. Good job. Of course, if you have not subscribed on the audio podcasting side, we love you guys too. We love our listeners. Our viewers are great. Listeners are great too. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Make sure you leave us a review. We always appreciate when you do that. We love that feedback, and those 5-star reviews definitely help us out quite a bit. Of course, check out BetMGM Sportsbook. If you haven't done so already, now's a great time to sign up. You can get down on the app. Sign up and deposit at least $10 and use our bonus code of PHNX when you do. When you do, you can place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. But of course, right now, great time to get down on some action with the Grand Slam Jackpot promotion every weekend on the BetMGM Sportsbook app. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can wager $10 or more on any player to hit a home run. If that player does, in fact, hit a grand slam, you will win your share of a $50,000 daily prize, or you could win the whole damn thing if you're the only person that bet on somebody to get a grand slam and hit. So make sure to do that. Of course, sign up for BetMGM and use that bonus code of PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the Sportsbook mobile app for at least $10. You will receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Bonus bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. That was beautiful,
that's
JJ.
Good, JJ. All right. Well, tonight is a great night to be drinking a Four Peaks beer, celebrating this wonderful victory. Of course, the Chicken Tendy squad. Let's talk about the Chicken Tendy squad, because there was a lot of mythical factors all coming together to help the Diamondbacks break out of their funk and get into this 4-game winning streak. Okay. Some people have said me shaving off my mustache was the thing that made it happen. And maybe it was, but maybe it was our wonderful friends here from this show that went to Four Peaks and had chicken tendies and the wonderful beers that they had to offer. And maybe you guys broke the curse. I don't know. I still don't believe it was Elizabeth, and I still think she has something to do just overall with cursing this team. But these are side things that we'll get into in the Discord. For the time being, check out all the wonderful beers Four Peaks have to offer, including their Bad Birdie Juicy Gold Ale, which has quickly become one of my favorite beers in the whole wide world. It's not just you don't have to just drink it. on the golf course. You can literally drink it anywhere, and you can literally get it anywhere because right now you can find it in stores all across the valley. Of course, visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. Check out at Four Peaks Brew at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly. Well, of course, let's take a look at the numbers from this series presented by our friends from Desert Financial Credit Union. Let's work the count, Damon, shall we? What do we got here? Diamondbacks win this game by a score of 8-5. They out-hit the Giants 13-6. And this is that runner in scoring position, that's hot. That's sexy right there, Damon. Diamondbacks went 6 for 14 for a 4.29 batting average with runners in scoring position, something they have absolutely struggled at this year. It's been crazy how bad the Diamondbacks have been with runners in scoring position. So it is it's a great sign to see them taking care of business when it comes to that. And then extra
hard
base
hit percentage
hits.
checks out.
That hard hit percentage, that looks pretty good. 16% for the Giants and 50% for the Diamondbacks. 3 extra base hits for the D-backs. 2 extra base hits for the bad guys.
It also makes sense for the Giants' hard hit percentage. They scored 5 runs, which is pretty decent outing. But like Patrick Bailey hit that little dribbler off the end of his bat against Kevin Ginkel. Like they weren't always hitting the ball hard. They weren't really squaring it up,
Yeah.
Justin Martinez, when he gave up that single, like it was a dribbler down the third baseline. I don't know. They weren't hitting the ball very, very hard at all.
No, they weren't. And honestly, the one home run, obviously off of Jarvis, wasn't great, but that's really the only thing that kept this game close. Otherwise, you could have considered this one to be a fairly substantial blowout for the Diamondbacks. And again, I mean, I know they only scored 4 runs yesterday, but 4 wins in a row with the team being able to produce 4 runs or more in every single one of those wins is pretty big for this team. And it definitely is a step in the right direction, considering how much they were struggling not that long ago, right? Just when we came into that series with the Mets, those first 2 games is what caused me to literally shave off my mustache on this show. Why? I don't know. But again, playoff stash. It seemed very inappropriate for me to have, and yet somehow now that it's gone, this is where we're at. Everything is good. The world is good. The world is right. It corrected itself. I don't know how long I'm going to have to do this for, though. Like, once they start, like, if they start losing again, do I get to just grow my mustache back? How does this work? I don't know. You might be the one that needs to.
Why are we talking about this right now?
I don't know. That's crazy to talk about. It's crazy to talk about.
We're mid-win streak. Let's talk about expanding this brick by brick, Derek, win by win.
That's what I want to talk about. We do have some videos from the clubhouse. Are those ready yet?
No, but we do have Torey on Andrew Saalfrank
from
earlier today.
Yeah, obviously that's the big story that came out before the game today was that Arizona Diamondbacks pitcher Andrew Saalfrank has been found, I guess, betting on baseball. Torey actually said something that I was thinking, and here we're going to talk about Torey here in a minute, but Saalfrank, along with some other players that were minor leaguers at the time, have all been suspended for 1 year. One player from the Padres has been actually expelled from baseball, like he is just removed. He's not allowed to come back to the game for betting on games of his own team. Saalfrank was not doing that. He was not betting on his team or teams within the Diamondbacks organization, but still, this is a rule that has been around in baseball as long as baseball pretty much has existed. There is a rule book that our very own Danielle Cortez got to check out when she visited the Baseball Hall of Fame that in 1850s abolished betting on the game of baseball when you participate in it. I understand how the access to gambling now is easier than ever and how easy it is for players to make this mistake. But it's just, it's the rule, right? It's the rule. You cannot bet on the game that you participate in. And the article detailed about all of these players not, aside from one, not betting on their own team, right? Or betting on games, that they were basically like somehow a part of. But the one thing that was clear was even the player that did bet on his own team was doing so in games that he was not participating in. It was during a stretch while he was injured. That doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, these players all have inside information, and that's the way it's viewed. And it's about the integrity of the game. Torey Lovullo was asked about it today. He said that he did find out this information about Saalfrank yesterday before it was made official. Obviously, internally, when they need to give that information to the player, he said he hadn't talked to him yet. He did say that Mike Hazen had spoke to him, and this is what Torey had to say about Andrew Saalfrank being suspended from the game of baseball for 1 year.
I have not talked to him. I will at some point in time. I know that there's a lot that he's unpacking, and I know that Mike has talked to him. This is something that is clearly running through our clubhouse and running through this organization and running through the baseball world today. And what I want to say about this is that, Andrew made a bad decision. Andrew, and I don't want to speak for the other players. I do know Andrew. He made a bad decision. The rules are very clearly outlined. They're told to the players several times during spring training. There's something on the wall in spring training that prohibits betting. And the reason is simple. We have to protect the integrity of this game. Andrew knew that. He understood that. And he made a really bad decision. What I do know is about the human being. I do know Andrew is remorseful. He knows he made a mistake. I haven't talked to him, but people might talk to him. He's explained to me what he said. He feels terrible, but he is going to pay the correct consequences. He's going to be suspended for 1 entire year away from his baseball team, and that's painful for him and painful for us. So all we can do is continue to encourage him to do the right thing, learn from this, and we'll see him again. We will definitely meet him.
This gets talked about in spring training, but after a day like today, is it were you brought up?
Yeah. It's definitely amplified. I'm in every part of that clubhouse right now. You go in the food room, you come in my office, you go in the training room. It's all anybody's talking about. So I love that there are rules in place to monitor this. It needs to be monitored. So I don't even know how it was figured out with DraftKings or whatever. However, the system worked, and that's good to know that. The players are being monitored as they should. But yeah, I think it just postures you a little bit. It makes you think twice about some of the bad decisions you might be thinking about making.
When did you guys find out that was going to?
I'm not going to lie to you guys. I found out yesterday. But it was made official today.
I love when Torey doesn't lie to us. I mean, I feel like that's.
I feel like Torey never lies to you guys.
He really doesn't, or at least when he is lying to us, he kind of tells us he's lying. He's like, I can't tell you guys that.
Or if he lies, it's because he thinks it's genuinely better for you that he does that.
Sometimes parents have to look out for
100%.
Damon, what are your thoughts on this overall? And I know, first of all, I want to say that, like, going back to what I was saying earlier, I was kind of curious as to how these players get found out. But what Torey is suggesting is that the betting apps actually vet the players, right? But when you talk about how many baseball players there are in the minor league system, like that's a lot of people to have to vet and figure out that they are professional athletes, right? Like, and then report if they did in fact bet on the game of baseball back to MLB, I imagine, because that's what Torey made it sound like.
Yeah, I think the stupidity of it is doing it from an account that is like with your name on it, right? Like Ernesto says it here, but there's probably a lot of players who are putting in bets or telling their buddies to put in bets and stuff, but it's just not as easy to get traced back. Like it really, I mean, there was a situation in the NFL similarly where a lot of guys weren't even betting on football, and they were doing it in the NFL facility, and that got them suspended for a year as well.
Oh, because they were gambling while on premises?
They were like on FanDuel on team premises,
but they were betting on another sport that was.
And so like there's just like not a lot of leeway for this kind of stuff, and I understand it. They got to take that side, even if looking here at what Andrew Saalfrank did, he made 4 bets while he was in the minors in 21 and 22. Didn't appear in the games he bet on, and didn't place bets on his minor league team. So it's like when you really map it out like that, it's not the worst sounding thing in the world, but they have to come down very strict on it, and it makes perfect sense why. And I think a really great point gets brought up here by Fematic. He says, "No more Ohtani jokes." You're wrong. You're wrong. That's just I'm shameless about it, and I'm gonna find a way where mine yours is egregious and mine doesn't count.
Yeah,
and I'll get there. I'm just gonna need to get from A to Z somehow.
He has to work on some new material, and that's fine because now there's difficult waters to navigate.
It's a good one by Connor too.
Yeah, now that we have somebody here in this chat, right, or in this organization, not in this chat. Well, maybe one of you have been suspended in this chat, but somebody in the organization now that's been suspended for this. Of course, we can't throw stones when living in glass houses, but I think that you shouldn't throw stones in general, regardless of your housing situation. I think it's shitty behavior to throw stones. But what I will say is that this really sucks for the Diamondbacks because there's a good chance that they were going to need Saalfrank. And so not only does this impact his career and him, missing baseball for a year, but the Diamondbacks now miss him. And I mean, he was a very valuable piece of this bullpen when coming down the stretch last year. He had an incredible run along with Ryan Thompson when they were added to the roster. And it sucks that this has now happened to the team. And that's part of the consequences of Saalfrank's actions, right? So it's unfortunate. But, I think speaking of people that had some interesting comments, Ryan Thompson had some very interesting comments in regards to this. And that is a guy that always has his teammates back. So, but I will say this. I have another guy that always has my back and another guy who might have some interesting thoughts on this situation as well as the Diamondbacks win tonight. It's my Thunderstick and your vice mayor, or maybe that's reversed. I don't know how that goes, but the one and only Jesse Friedman. Jesse, another big win, 4 wins in a row for this team. Offense just came out of nowhere after looking like it was dead, on arrival, that we were getting ready to do a check on the time of death on the Diamondback season. And here we are 4 games later, and it really does feel like this team is a completely different baseball team.
This offense has been cruising all year, Derek. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe it was a brief stretch last week, but this
9 runs in 6 games, Jesse. 9 runs in 6 games.
Yeah, well, it's now what is that? 34 runs over the last 5, something like that.
36 in their past 5.
Okay, thank you. 36 in their past 5. So yeah, this offense, Derek, has absolutely turned things around. And on some level, I think we figured that was inevitable, right? I mean, you weren't going to average a run and a half per game the rest of the season. This offense has not been great. But
Who knows? Who knows? It was starting to look like they might have. It was really starting to look like that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just part of the ebbs and flows of the season, right? And that's what I've said so many times on this show, over the last year or so, is that especially with this Diamondbacks team, they just have a knack for doing this year after year, where they might frustrate their fan base for a period of time. They might look like they're not really going anywhere, and then they'll find a way to turn it around, and then everyone's like, they're back. Here we go. Let's do this thing.
We back.
There's a lot of back and forth over the course of the season, and the Diamondbacks certainly in one of their best stretches of the year so far. Obviously, this Giants team is really going through it themselves right now. I believe this was their 6th consecutive loss, but the D-backs certainly caught them at a good time and are taking advantage of that.
By the way, the chat is still asking for Jesse to apologize about Pavin, and he will never apologize about Pavin. I'm going to take that stance for him right now because I know how Jesse feels. But man, there were a lot of contributions tonight from this offense, and I mean, a lot of it around the lineup, but those 7, 8, 9 hitters, they continue to do great work for this team. Continues to be Newman, it continues to be McCarthy, and Blaze Alexander was our king snake tonight because I mean the kid can't stay off base. He just continues to be an offensive threat for this team.
Yeah, Blaze had 3 hits in this game, and I think if you play out those innings where those hits came, and imagine a world where he did not do what he did, if he recorded outs in those situations instead, the Diamondbacks 4 runs in the front half of this game that looked like it might be all they would get. Those 4 runs would be reduced down to 1 run if you just take away Blaze's 3 hits in this game. They were really impactful, especially that double in the 3rd inning, which was some really good aggressive base running by both Jake McCarthy and him, getting to 2nd and 3rd on that play. Kevin Newman, of course, comes up with a hit right after that. So yeah, just a complete effort for the D-backs offense. They didn't hit a home run today. There wasn't a ton of slug in this game, but they just consistently had guys on base, and they were able to come through when they needed to.
I may or may not have been present where Barry Bloom told Torey Lovullo that he can't win a baseball game without hitting home runs, and Torey might have won that battle today. I'm just saying, not to throw that business out there, but
that was Barry. I will say real quick, Barry did address that with Torey after the game. Said, yeah, I think it was the D-backs were 4-21 in games where they didn't homer, and then today it became 5-21. So maybe the D-backs get on a nice little run there.
Well, they were 6 for 14 tonight with runners in scoring position, and that was the key here, is the fact that this team has really struggled. Like we've joked about it, that a great way to keep the Diamondbacks from scoring is the ghost runner. For that is an instant runner in scoring position, and they're not going to bring him in, and that is how it's felt at times when this team has struggled, especially when they have ducks on the pond. It doesn't feel like they don't have opportunities. It just feels like night after night, we take a look at the box score at the end of the night. Diamondbacks were 1 for 7, 1 for 9, 2 for 13. And again, 13 guys in scoring position. It's crazy. Or at least 13 opportunities with runners in scoring position, as Jesse would say. But, now we're actually seeing them able to convert. And I think the biggest key is that this offense is continued to roll and not just suddenly turn stagnant after having some success.
Absolutely, yeah. The D-backs in this stretch where their starting pitching is very fractured. 3/5 of their rotation is obviously on the injured list right now, and a very good 3/5 of it. Both Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly, along with Eduardo Rodriguez. It's a really tough spot they're in. Their offense is going to have to come through and win them some games, right? I know Blake Walston wasn't fantastic tonight, but he certainly kept the Diamondbacks in the game. 4 1/3 and 2 runs. It wasn't pretty. There were 4 walks. There were a couple of hit by pitches. There were base runners seemingly all over the place. I think he allowed the leadoff man on in all 5 innings that he started, but he was able to pitch around that and still give the Diamondbacks a pretty good chance to win this game. But in the long run, you're still you're not expecting Blake Walston to go out there and be Merrill Kelly. You're not expecting Slade Ciccone to go out there and be Zach Gallen. The offense is going to have to step up more than they usually would in order for the Diamondbacks to stay hot. And that's the reason why they're on this winning streak, right? It's been because they're consistently. I know it was just 4 runs yesterday, which wound up being enough, but they're consistently getting runs on the board, and that's going to have to continue.
You bring up a great point, because it really does feel like Gallen's injury was somehow like a catalyst for this team to get the offense going. Like they finally looked around and realized the dire situation that they were in. They've lost Merrill Kelly. They've lost Zach Gallen. Their offense stinks. They're going to have to rely on a bunch of young pitchers that are inconsistent at best and can pitch, but still have no idea what you're going to get out of them from one night to the next. And all of a sudden, since that moment when Zach Gallen got injured, this offense woke up. It's almost like they flipped a switch only because they had to. But
are you suggesting that Zach Gallen going on the IL was the key to the Diamondbacks turnaround? Is that what they just needed that to happen?
I'm just saying they responded well, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
sometimes that's the sign of a good team, that they can face some adversity, and instead of lying down and dying like we kind of imagined that they were going to without their best starting pitchers, this team has turned it on. And not only has the starting pitching, the guys that they've called upon, Slade, Ryan, now today Blake, they've all been from great to pretty good. They've all at least given this team an opportunity to win baseball games. But on top of that, the offense went out there as if those guys were going to falter and produced in a way that we haven't really seen at least this offense produce consistently all year long. And of course, it leads to a 4-game winning streak. I'm not suggesting like it's the Zach Gallen thing that turned it around, but it is almost like that's the moment that this team realized that they have no choice but to get their shit together. Like, this is it. Like, we have to support the pitching because we're not going to get guys that go out there and give up 2 earned, 1 earned on a night. We're going to get guys that potentially are going to give up some runs, and we're going to need to kind of back them up. It might not have even been like a meeting they had or whatever, but it's like it seems like that was the moment that
could just be a subconscious thing.
Yeah, like you just know, like there's, I don't know. I mean, it could have been a moment of absolute loss for them as well, knowing that now that they've lost yet another part of their, another key part of their starting lineup, their starting rotation. But I don't know. I mean, I applaud them for the way that they've responded to that, situation.
Yeah, and even these young starters, like we mentioned Walston and not being super pretty today, but they've at least given the D-backs a chance. Like Ryan Nelson obviously did a whole lot more than that on Monday night. Granted,
Really
the
did.
defense had a very big role in that game. I discovered today, by the way, Derek, which is me utterly nerding out as usual. I believe the Diamondbacks added 3 outs above average and 6 defensive runs saved to their team total
in one
game last night.
Yeah.
Yes. The OAA I know for sure was 3 OAA that they added. I'm pretty sure the DRS went up by 6. That's sort of going off my memory, which is not always the most reliable thing. But yeah, Brandon Pfaadt wasn't great on Sunday. There was that one big inning, but he was still good enough to get the Diamondbacks a win. And Slade Ciccone gave them a good chance to win on Saturday as well. This is actually, if we go to some of the video that we have from the D-backs clubhouse and the interview room, manager Torey Lovullo was asked about a 4-game winning streak that happened with Ciccone and Pfaadt and Nelson and Walston, these 4 young D-backs starters. And here's what Torey had to say about that.
Speaks volumes about our youngsters that are coming up here ready to go. That's player development success story for me. It's a drafted player, targeted drafted players that come in and continue to get better. And you're right, it's that next level of guy. But you got to remember that I know Ryan Nelson won 8 or 9 games last year, so he's got a good foundation that he's standing on. It's the guys like Blake Walston and Slade Ciccone that, for me, that are doing a really, really good job pushing it to the bullpen with a lead. But yeah, we didn't budget for this. We did not budget for having 3/5 of our starting rotation on the IL. It happened, and we're making the adjustments. Next man up. We're getting it done.
We didn't budget for this? Who budgets for that, Jesse? I don't know who budgets for that much of an emergency situation. But yeah, no, man. I mean, these guys have been they've been doing the thing. I mean, it might be shorter outings like what we saw to Slade and Blake today, but they're still giving this team an opportunity to win, and they're giving them some innings instead of Torey exhausting his bullpen.
Yeah, and I feel like that was another focus today. I actually was kind of surprised that Torey left Blake Walston in to face Helio Ramos, the Giants leadoff hitter, which was the third time through. It kind of felt to me with Ginkel warming up and Ramos being a right-handed hitter, you were probably just going to go to Ginkel straight up there. And Torey stuck with Walston. It didn't really work. Walston issued a walk, and that's how his outing ended. Torey also said something about trying to get Walston a win. So maybe, trying to get him through 5 innings somehow was also a point of emphasis there. But you get the sense through this elongated stretch without an off day, 13 straight days of games, that Torey is being a little bit less careful with his starters. He's trying to get as much out of them as he possibly can. Yeah. And you can understand that because you're probably not going to average 6 innings from your starting pitching during this phase where you've got 4 pretty young starters in the mix. Although I guess Brandon Pfaadt maybe shouldn't even be part of that group because he's averaging almost 7 innings per start at this point.
No.
But with 3/5 of your rotation being really young and not so experienced, yeah, you want to get as many innings, as many outs as you can out of those guys. And all is well that ends well for the Diamondbacks today.
That's really what it comes down to. And I think one thing we haven't talked about, but we discussed earlier prior to you joining us, was how filthy Justin Martinez is. And like tonight, nor any outing for him is perfect. But I feel like every single outing we get consistency out of him. We get an ability to maybe allow a base runner or two, but not have any kind of panic that he's going to give up any runs, because the man just doesn't seem to give up any runs. And I also feel like every single night he pitches, there's a moment that makes me go, wow.
Yeah. I feel like there's about 6 moments that make me go, wow.
Absolutely.
Every splitter that results in a whiff is unbelievable. And also, I mean, honestly, what might have been his most impressive pitch in this game was the very last one that he threw to Matt Chapman, just a backdoor sinker that had an insane amount of horizontal movement. We talked about it the other day. Like that's a really big reason why Justin Martinez is so much better this year, is that he's not throwing a straight 4-seamer. He's throwing a sinker that has an absurd amount of run and still is like 100 miles an hour. Matt Chapman was, is a really, really tough pitch. Like you think it's going to sail off the plate, but it just winds up dropping right in on the outside corner for a called third strike. And Martinez wasn't perfect today. He needed 26 pitches to get through that one inning. But Torey did talk after the game about his willingness to use Martinez in higher leverage situations. I mean, that was a 4-2 game in the 7th inning at the time. Like that's a high leverage situation. Ginkel had been used earlier in the game. So it kind of feels like Torey did, at least today, what we suspected for a while, where maybe you move Ginkel up a little bit, let him find his footing again, and then move Justin Martinez more toward the back end of the bullpen. Torey said today he's trying to get Martinez more of those opportunities, and it sounds like he's going to get more of those as the days go on.
I don't know why I love the fact that he's performed so well in front of his parents, but it was like the first game that he pitched in New York in front of his parents. I was nervous for him. I was like, parents are there watching you in the majors for the first time. That feels like a lot of pressure. I'm interested to see how he responds here. His first couple of pitches weren't great, and it was like, oh, yeah, here we go. This is exactly what I thought would happen. And instead, he just absolutely dominated after that and gave the Diamondbacks, I think, 2 strong innings. Tonight, another strong inning in front of his parents with his dad going out there and throwing out the first pitch prior to the game. And it's just been a wonderful week for Justin Martinez to not only celebrate this with his family and allow his parents to see him achieve his goals, but for him to just be nasty while mom's watching.
Jesse, can you believe that I went to the bathroom during the half inning before JMart came in to pitch? And Derek didn't even call me.
He was so mad at me. He wanted me to call him in the bathroom and tell him to come here right now.
I missed 7 pitches
I was
at
like,
JMart
you missed a little dinker down the line that Gino didn't really get
That's
to.
Unacceptable.
He was mad.
I don't want to miss any JMart pitches.
It's must-see TV.
It is.
Justin Martinez pitching is must-see TV.
I've never seen anything like it, in a Diamondbacks uniform at least.
No. Well, we haven't.
Yeah.
Jesse's written articles on it. We literally have never seen a reliever like this as part of the Diamondbacks organization.
I think I love them.
We've seen guys that have had the potential, but never guys that put it together the way that JMart has so far this season. And I said it earlier, but it just feels like it's way ahead of schedule too.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can pretty safely say that no Diamondbacks reliever has ever had the kind of stuff that Justin Martinez has. And I'm not sure it's even particularly close. Right? You think about some of the better back-end relievers in this team's history. Young Kim. I mean, he did have really good stuff.
He's pretty filthy.
He didn't throw 100 miles an hour, as far as I recall. Obviously, he was throwing from, he had the whole submarine thing going, which certainly was a different look. But like Brad Ziegler, Archie Bradley, JJ Putz. This team has had some good relievers at times, not very many. But none of them were, throwing 100 miles an hour with crazy run and 2+ breaking pitches. And this is, in my mind, just kind of a completely different category of reliever that we've seen. And Martinez still has development to do. You'd still like to see him get in the zone more. You'd still like to see him have fewer lapses where he just kind of bounces on competitive pitches every now and then. But the ceiling here is in my mind higher than it's been for any Diamondbacks reliever arguably ever in this team's history. His stuff is just that good.
Yeah. Zach, we're apparently installing a JMart alarm in the office. And I was thinking the exact same thing Zach was saying. Like, it's a JMart, Kmart thing. We could have a blue light special, right? It's when he comes in to pitch, we'll have a little blue light and it just goes around and goes crazy. But Torey going crazy for this team. He had more on this team's turnaround, which started on Friday night, and inexplicably, like I said, that the whole situation with Zach Gallen. But this is what Torey had to say about this team turning things around.
Felt like Friday night when you guys had that big ninth inning, that kind of feels like that.
Yeah.
Turned it tide for you.
Yeah, we were down by 5. I think we scored 4, right? There was a couple of home runs. It happened really quick. And ever since that inning, and I started having a very good feeling about what we were able to do offensively. And something clicked with the guys possibly. I'm not sure exactly what it was. But, I've been saying now for a few days, you never know where the rally's going to start. And you got to be the guy doing your job. At that one moment, go up there and understand what the at-bat's asking for and do your job.
I love it. I love Torey's attitude lately. And I mean, honestly, I think Torey's had to have a little bit more of an edge in managing because of the way things have gone this season. It's understandable, but he did say that a lot of things keep him up at night. But he did definitely say that some things keep him up more than others. Right now, though, things are just like everything turned around for this team somehow in one night. And I still don't understand that. I'm just glad it happened.
Yeah, going back to the bullpen real quick, like I'm just imagining a world where this game stays 4-2. The D-backs don't add those 4 runs in the 8th inning.
Right.
You still feel pretty good about how this game would end, right? And we couldn't have said that, I don't think, about a month ago. It's not just that they have 3 guys who are good at the back end of the bullpen, like we saw really powering them last season. It kind of feels like it's more than that, right? With Ginkel kind of finding his way again, with Martinez, with Thompson, with Sewald, Joe Mantiply, his ERA isn't particularly great at this point, but
he's been much better over his last probably 10 outings.
Yeah,
right?
he's been pretty solid.
Yeah, he's been solid too. So I don't think if you're a fan of this team, you were probably too concerned. Like, even if the D-backs hadn't tacked on those runs, it just kind of felt like a tailor-made, like, all right, this is just what the D-backs bullpen is now. And that's a testament to Martinez. It's a testament to obviously Paul Sewald's impact now that he's back off the injured list. We haven't had many, doomsday conversations about this bullpen in a long time. So some real progress has been made on that front.
Well, it's funny because even when the bullpen was the problem, I don't think we lost hope the way that we did this year. Like it did feel like anyone that Torey put in there wasn't the solution, no matter how well they were pitching. It seemed like some sort of cursed inning for this team, that at times if the game was close, they couldn't put anyone in the 9th inning and have things go their way. But they were still finding ways to win games around that. As much as it seemed like it was every single game, it wasn't. Just like it seemed like every single night they were blowing a lead, it really wasn't. But this year, the bullpen has been fine. I mean, the bullpen really hasn't been the problem. There are some games where they let the game get out of control instead of, keeping it close and giving the team an opportunity to win. In a lot of those losses, though, the team didn't end up scoring any more offense, so it really didn't matter if it was 8-1 or 2-1 or whatever. The Diamondbacks just have been struggling all year long offensively. I think it really sucks that it's, guys like Gino that have struggled, that the Diamondbacks really did put so much hope into, taking this offense from where it was at and just ramping it up, just giving it that extra bit that we saw this year. Instead, Gino and a few other guys have been liabilities at the plate, including Lourdes. But I got to give Lourdes his flowers because that man has really turned things around. He now has hit safely in 14 of his last 17 games. And even though it's not consistent. Tonight's hit was huge. Like you said, that ended up making a huge difference in the outcome of this game.
He had a couple of good swings early in yesterday's game. I think it was a base knock in his first at bat, and then he hit a hard line drive to the opposite field that was caught in his second at bat. But it was still like, yeah, that's what Lourdes looks like at his best. And then I think he like grounded out and struck out to end the day, and those at bats didn't look as good. And then I felt less confident about Lourdes like really coming into his own and turning this thing around. And today it was sort of the same story. There was a double play. His at bats early in the game didn't look particularly great, but he did come through with that big double late in this one. And on the whole, he's looked better for sure. It still feels like there's a little ways to go for him. We know how locked in he can get at times. He's maybe not quite there yet, but seems to be on the right path.
People in the chat talking about Scott McGuff right now. I had the opportunity to see him pitch for the Reno Aces today, Jesse. Do we want to talk about Jacob just being in his office, just watching ball all the time, including AAA ball? Because
the guy just loves it.
He just lives and dies ball.
Yeah.
Fodge loves ball.
He bleeds, minor league farm system Diamondbacks baseball.
He bleeds Reno Aces red.
Hillsboro hops.
Bright green. But speaking of guys that love ball, we have Blaze Alexander here from the clubhouse talking about the vibes. Jesse, is that right?
Yeah. You're gonna love this. We probably should have played this from the top, honestly.
Hold on, let me strap my. Let's do this. Let's give it to me. Let's go.
Oh, it's huge. Especially, coming back in the clubhouse after the win, we got all these fancy lights now. The lights are off. Actually, I got to wear the jacket for the first time today, and I guess you could say I messed up the speech. Everyone's laughing at me, but yeah, no, it's just, you feel something different. It's really good energy right now, and we're going to keep rolling with it.
What was your speech?
I said some cuss words, but we can't get into it, but I don't know if they liked it, but it's all right.
Do you know who's responsible for the lights?
I'm not sure who's responsible for the lights, but I know Seawald gives out that jacket after and does his speech and stuff. But yeah, the lights were new, but we love it. I know Los Angeles when we were there, they had it in the away locker room. So I don't know if we were rolling there too. So I don't know if we just caught that vibe and brought it here, but I love it.
When did the vest get back into the rotation? Has that been all season, or has it just been?
It's been all season, I guess. The celebrations afterwards have been better now, but I don't know. It was kind of, we were going through a little struggle, so it's good to see the vest back out. But
to clarify on the lights, was it just these last two home games that they've been in here then?
Yep, last two home games, and I love it. I think everyone loves it. Come in here, the lights are off. You want a ball game, and yeah, everyone's pumped up. It's cool.
The fucking vest is back, Jesse. You're burying the lead here. Let's go.
Yeah, so we walked into the clubhouse after this game, and normally music is blaring after a win. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
But all of the normal clubhouse lights are on. But today that was not the case, Derek. The clubhouse was completely pitch black, with the exception of, I believe it was like 6 different disco lights that were, we had like multicolored lights, like a light display on the ceiling in the clubhouse, and it was dark, so it was really a nice effect. And as you could hear Blaze describing there, they had this whole thing going where Seawald starts it. Sounds like he gives out the vest, which is apparently now a thing, and then he passes off the vest, and then the vest wearer gives a speech, which, as you heard there, Blaze did not seem so confident in his speech tonight. But D-backs still won, so I guess it's okay. It appears the vibes are high in the clubhouse right now.
Oh my God. This is incredible. I don't know how to feel about this because, again, there was something that Torey talked about today with us where he was talking about like not giving away everything he speaks to the guys about because it means more to them when you kind of keep that stuff private. It's okay when he goes out there and he kind of like, tells us that he had a conversation with so-and-so, but keeping the kind of details of what they actually said to each other private is something Torey does quite a bit. And that's apparently part of the reason why he does that is because he feels like this stuff is more effective when it's an internal thing rather than Torey goes on, his pregame press conference and puts someone on blast or whatever the case may be, right? But like that's kind of what this celebration feels like. This is like a secret society kind of thing. I imagine like I'm seeing Paul Sewald in a hooded robe with candles being lit around while he gives someone the vest. Like I am seeing a secret society here, a serpent society, if you will. That's something we've said before, but it's very cool that they're celebrating still, because we didn't want them to stop doing that, but they're doing it in a more private fashion where they don't feel really like they're maybe stunting on the other team as much as they're just celebrating internally, their accomplishments.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, right, the vest last year was something that the person who was interviewed after a win on TV, they would wear that. It was a very public thing. We always knew who was the vest wearer on a given day. But yeah, the vest, I mean, you've seen it too. The vest has just been sitting on a chair in the clubhouse for at least collecting as long dust. Seemingly collecting dust as long as I could see. But apparently it's been in use basically this entire season. Blaze, of course, did say that the post game celebrations weren't quite as the vibes weren't quite as good when the D-backs were going through a rough stretch, but
understandable.
Yeah,
they've dialed that stuff back when they're losing because it doesn't feel so good. But then at the same time, like we've said, like being loose and having a fun time while you're playing baseball does seem to be a key to success. And I think that the teams that do have a fun time with it end up finding a way to convert that into success on the field. It's just it's just keeping things loose, right? Someone was talking, by the way, about like all of their celebrations and their hand gestures, because now it seems like they've gone away from the zipping and throwing the key away to like a hang loose kind of thing. They seem to be all over the place with their celebrations, but more importantly, they don't really seem to care to explain to us what their celebrations are. It kind of goes along with this thing of it being more for them than anybody else. Paul Sewald being in charge of the vest ceremony, I still can't get over that though. That's what, like, why he just falls into this whole dad thing that we pegged him with. Like, of course the dad was like, hey boys, let's do something fun. I'm going to give out the vest to the best guy on the team every night. That is such a dad move.
I love it though. Also because like he'll never be in a situation to get it, but he'll always be in a situation where he just came off the mound when they won. But he's just doing his job, and he feels like he's just doing his job. So
but he closed things out.
He doesn't want the vest. He did his job, but he wants to give the vest to somebody who won them the game. I love it. I think the vibes of that are great.
The vibes are great. The vibes are great. You know where else the vibes are great at, right? Is here in the Circle K studio. This is Studio K that I'm sitting in right now. This place is about to be turned into an actual Circle K. I can't wait till we have my Polar Pop machine in the corner. That's me and Lindsay have put that into our contracts, right? By the way, and it's not just drink. We want the frozen drinks, by the way. We want the frozen Polar Pop machine. We want the cups in here, the whole bit. We love Circle K. We had a blast going and getting some snacks today. Did a little commercial shoot that should be coming at some point. I don't know. I'm probably not even supposed to be telling you that, but we love Circle K. The prize at the end of our commercial shoot was Polar Pops. That's, again, part of my contract and Lindsay's contract. If you're going to get us to go shoot any kind of content in Circle K, you must give us a Polar Pop at the end of the day. And it's cheap. It's an easy treat at the end because it's only 79 cents. And of course, if you join the Inner Circle for free, which is their membership program, by downloading the Circle K app today, you can save even more. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. But when you do, you can save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, save 3 cents off per gallon every day after that. If you become a premium member, you can save 5 cents off per gallon every single day. And let me tell you, at least in downtown Phoenix, Circle K is already the cheapest gas. So you're stacking deals upon deals. It also stacks with the Easy Pay option if you do have Easy Pay. So make sure to check out everything Circle K has to offer. Get that Inner Circle membership for free, and then get all sorts of free stuff in the apps. Get buy one, get one free stuff, get 2 for $3, all sorts of great options to save some money. Speaking of saving some money, another place that you can do that is at Desert Financial Credit Union. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been the largest, most trusted credit union here in the Valley. They got me started on my home ownership journey, and I am so glad they did, especially when I'm talking to some people who just recently rented an apartment and having to hear what they are paying in rent versus what I am paying in my mortgage. I'm not going to get into details with that, but Desert Financial saved me a lot of money, and they definitely helped me secure my future, my family's future. And they've also helped me with other things such as loans, credit cards, and investment options. So you can look to their financial experts, and they are committed to their members and the community. They're also committed to giving back to you, making sure that your financial interests are taken care of. So right now, when you open a free checking account online, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. Well, Jesse, before we get out of here, I know that I lied to Damon earlier. I lie to Damon all the time. I lie to you all the time. It's
big time lied to me.
Oh, what was the lie about? Do we remember what I lied to you about?
Unbelievable, Jesse. Can you believe this guy?
I don't even remember why I lied. I lie so much, I don't even remember my lies. It's hard to keep track of them.
You're not even sorry about it.
No,
Let's
I'm
just
not. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to shake that at you. And what I am going to say is the numbers, they never lie. Jesse, what do you have for our number from tonight's game?
Yeah, the number is 857, which represents the Diamondbacks OPS over their previous 4 games entering tonight. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to do the math and figure out what it would be, including tonight. I know I'm falling.
It's got to be pretty good, though. Got to be pretty good with the way they performed tonight.
Yeah, I mean, their team batting average tonight was 382. There wasn't a ton of slug. I think it was just the 2 doubles, so the slugging percentage wouldn't be super high. But yeah, if you're hitting 382 as a team, I wouldn't be surprised if that 857 OPS at least hung around the same, maybe even ticks up a little bit after this one. So yeah, and this comes after the D-backs at a 485 OPS in their 6 games before this. So it goes back to what we were saying when I first hopped on, of just the ebbs and flows of the season, and you know, the sky is falling and the D-backs are never going to score like 4 runs in a game again, and then suddenly it's like, yeah, they score 4 runs is a bad day now. Like, usually we expect like 7 or 8. So
yeah, that's a slow day. That's a slow day at the office.
Yeah, the other thing I do have to bring up real quick about this game is that I think the Diamondbacks benefited heavily from the fact that the Giants do not have a competent shortstop. I don't know if you guys discussed this already.
We were going to give King Snake to Casey Schmidt.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're on the same wavelength there. It kind of reminded me of Ezequiel Tovar of the Rockies in the first series of the season, where Tovar actually has a really good defensive reputation as a shortstop, but I think Jock Peterson had 7 hits on balls that were basically just like tough hops to Ezequiel Tovar that he just wasn't able to make the play. And based on how scoring is done now, like all of them were rolled hits. Of course, there was some of that again today, but the Giants don't have Nick Ahmed, Derek. He is on the injured list, and that is a bigger deal than I think I realized.
Well, you discussed it earlier. You brought it up, but I mean, this team was a team that we were starting to wonder, you know, what is the future going to look like of this season? I'm not trying to get dramatic and say the future of the franchise, but you had to start asking at one point with the way that this team was struggling and the way things were going, if they were going to, in fact, be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline. And Jeff Passan has an article up at ESPN in regards to that, and in regards to the other what other teams might do at the trade deadline, who they might be willing to part ways with. We have no idea what this Diamondbacks team is going to do at the trade deadline. We don't even know what any other baseball team is going to do. There are so many bad teams right now in the National League that it feels like everyone's just clustered together outside of the Phillies and the Dodgers. And I mean, maybe, I guess the Braves, who still are in a wild card spot themselves, but everybody else feels fairly close together. So I think it's hard to gauge if the Diamondbacks would even consider being sellers at the trade deadline. One thing that we do know is that they did kind of push all of their chips in on this season with the contracts that they extended, or not extended, but I guess the 1-year contracts that they gave to several players. It really does feel like this year was a year where they were trying to go for it, trying to build on the success of last year and make something, very special happen this year. I have a hard time believing that with the way this team has been impacted by injuries that are going to a lot of those injured players are going to return right before the trade deadline. I have a hard time seeing the Diamondbacks being a seller, but who knows? But Passan does talk about that teams are keeping an eye on the Diamondbacks, thinking owner Ken Kendrick could pursue some sort of payroll reduction.
I mean, it makes sense for other teams to be wondering about that, right? Like the D-backs did, as you said, they really did kind of push the chips in on this season. And given how things have gone, it's only natural to wonder if an owner would want to pull back on that investment. That Ken Kendrick didn't spend that money for this team to be 7 games under 500 as it was a few days ago, or 3 games under 500 as it is now. But yeah, my guess is still that those other teams are going to be disappointed. As you said, the National League right now is just it is 4 good teams if you include the Brewers, and then just a whole lot of mediocrity. It is both the second and third wild card spots might be a travesty to the sport, at least in the eyes of some people, by the end of the year, because as things stand right now, you're tracking to have like a 500 team in the second wild card spot, like a 78 win team or something like that.
Yeah.
In the third wild card spot. I don't think it's going to play out that way. I think a couple teams will probably get hot, but the D-backs have a really good chance. Or at least a decent chance to be one of those teams. If you look at that list of teams that are kind of vying for those spots right now, then no team really stands out, at least not really more than this Diamondbacks team. If you look at the list here, I mean, you've got the Padres in the second wild card spot. They're 500 right now. The Cubs in the third spot. They're a game under. Then it's D-backs, Cardinals, Giants, Pirates, Reds, Nationals, all within a game and a half of each other. Just outside of the playoff picture looking in. I don't know about you, Derek, but none of those teams really stand out to me as like, oh yes, this team is going to figure it out at some point. Like it's just a matter of time. I don't really feel that way about any of these teams.
I doubt it plays out this way, but just looking at this, every team below us doesn't scare me at all.
No, not at all. It's the teams above us that actually worry me a little.
There's an NL East team that it's going to get a spot on one of these wild card spots. No doubt about it in the world. The Braves or the Phillies are going to get one of those spots. Yeah. So that leaves Padres, Cubs, and Diamondbacks for, I think, 2 spots. And that's the teams I would be looking at pretty much this entire time.
I think the thing that bothers me is a couple of the names that are listed in Passan's article that the Diamondbacks could part ways with, and they make sense. They all make sense for one reason or another. It's just a little hard to see a couple of these guys. Christian Walker, Jock Peterson, completely understand, especially Peterson, considering the way he's performed this year, the numbers he's putting up. I feel like you could get an absolute haul for him in a trade. Randall Grichuk, he's been very good for this team. Doesn't have reverse splits, Jeff Passan, by the way, but what he has been is very good when called upon in the roles that Torey Lovullo has asked him for. I think he's a great hitter. I think he's been a much better defender than some of the Diamondbacks' other options at times. But it's when you start getting into tea time Ryan Thompson and Kevin Ginkel.
That hits a little too close to home for you.
I will fight you. I will fight you.
Unacceptable. I'm with you there.
It's unacceptable, Damon. You're right. And I'll take a bullet for Ryan Thompson is basically what I'm trying to say. And that bullet would be also me jumping in front of any kind of moving truck that took him out of the valley, because I'm not going to allow it. That's been the absolute steal of the century. Like Ryan Thompson might be one of the Diamondbacks' biggest, best acquisitions ever, just based on the way that they got him and the way that he ended up performing for this team once he became a member of this organization. He's just been outstanding. I don't like that. Passan does mention Gino, of course, if the Diamondbacks might be willing to help pay down what he is owed, or if he steps up his production. But I think that would have to be a considerable step up from what we've seen so far this year. Yeah,
the D-backs would have to pay down the heck out of that salary as of right now for any. I don't think that Gino is really at least as of right now. Like Gino is pretty clearly not a player that a playoff team would be acquiring or looking to acquire at the deadline, regardless of how little you have to pay down or to pay on his salary the rest of the year. The controllable guys like Ryan Thompson and Kevin Ginkel, even if the D-backs were far enough out of this playoff picture by mid-July that they were willing to sell off some pieces, which again is something I'd be a little surprised by. I don't know if it would really make sense for them to look at dealing Thompson or Ginkel. Next season is a very important year for this team, given that it is the last year of Merrill Kelly, the last year of Zach Gallen, at least under their current contracts. That's a season that this team is probably going to want to capitalize on. And, maybe they don't wind up being as aggressive as they were going into this year, but I have a hard time seeing them wanting to punt on any of the pieces that would be impactful on next year's team. So yeah, all this to say, Derek, like I mean, at least as of right now, it's almost a little outrageous to be talking about this team selling at the deadline.
I hate
given
it.
the mediocrity in the NL, they're right there in the playoff picture. So some things would really have to go sideways for them in the next month for us to be taking a close look at this.
I like piece of Yoshi's idea, by the way. He's discussing maybe trading Gino back to the Mariners. Not a terrible idea. Not a terrible idea. Just because they love. Can we have Josh Rojas back? Can we? I mean,
I don't think they're doing the Gino Suarez for Josh Rojas swap at this point.
I was actually thinking the same thing right now, Derek. When we were talking about Gino, I was like, remember when we had Josh Rojas and how good he is right now?
Longo's still hanging around. Longo's in the clubhouse all the time. He was there today. So yeah, let's kick the tires on that ride maybe once more.
I mean, we do have to consider that it is an inevitability that the Mariners and Diamondbacks will make a trade at the deadline. it is just a matter of which players are involved. So
get him, Mike Hazen.
Everyone, we just all have to figure out, who on the Mariners do the D-backs want. Rojas, I don't know if I see Dipoto trading Rojas back to the Diamondbacks, especially given how important Rojas has been to that team so far this season. But yeah, it's going to happen, Derek. It's just a matter of
when and who's going to be involved.
Yeah,
so
right.
Well, we've kept you guys entirely too long, but what can we say? We love talking about this team when things are going the way that they're going right now. Diamondbacks win their 4th. They go for their 5th win in a row tomorrow. This mustache stays shaved, and they could complete the sweep of the Giants in a day game tomorrow. So make sure to come back here, join us for our post-series, I should say, wrap-up after tomorrow's game. In the meanwhile, make sure you smash that like button before you get out of here. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. I am at Cap_Caveman with a K. This maniac next to me that loves baseball more than anyone else is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, Damon, the people's producer, is at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. And why? Because we are Damon's dogs. Bark, bark.
Bark.
Damn it, we missed it. We'll try it again next time.
On my end, we were in perfect sync.
Yeah, I know there's a delay. I get it, but anyway, we still even when we fail, we still win, right? But of course, our show is at PHNX_DBacks, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for your time tonight. Appreciate your comments. Appreciate you being here live, and just appreciate you for being a Diamondbacks fan. We will see you tomorrow after hopefully a series sweep. And until then, have a wonderful night. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun when Paul Sewald awards you with the victory vest in a secret ceremony.
We all silly like the mayor.